Welcome back to the Sky and the Shy podcast. This is episode 16, and today we are talking about the Chicago Sky's 91-77 victory over the Phoenix Mercury in Game 1 of the WNBA Finals. Who could have imagined us here? Not me, that's for sure. This is unbelievable, absolutely incredible. What an amazing performance from the Chicago Sky from top to bottom. There really is very little to complain about in this game. They just had a complete and total dominant performance from top to bottom. When you look at every statistical category, virtually that matters, they were victorious in. The team was perfect from the free throw line, 11 from 11. They out-rebounded the Phoenix Mercury 34-29, had more assists, 24-17. Really, the only negatives were a bit too many turnovers with 18. And even then, the Mercury had 19. And then, of course, the three-point percentage, 34%, which I feel like is a bit pedestrian. I think I said the magic number was to be around 36 and above. That's where you want to shoot. So really, we're talking about if they make one more three, they hit that number. They're right at the borderline. And Phoenix Mercury did shoot better, 46% from three. And they did so with less shots. So, they had a better shooting night from three. But overall, that's still right there. And those are the kind of keys to success here for the Sky in this really, really dominant performance. So let's get into it. We're going to break down this performance, why they won, who was responsible for helping them win, and then preview game 2, which is happening on Wednesday night. And it's, every game at this point is the biggest game of the season, but it's clearly going to continue ramping up, and I'm excited to talk about it. So really, one name comes to mind when I look at the Chicago Sky's performance in Game 1 and who, really deserves their flowers, and that's Kahleah freaking Copper. She was amazing. She was sensational. 21 points. She led all scorers and 10 rebounds, which also led all players on both teams. Nobody got more rebounds than Kahleah Copper. No one had more points than Kahleah Copper. She was unbelievable. And I think what was really impressive was just how dominant she was at getting to the basket. That's really her amazing ability. She can just attack the rim, attack the basket, put pressure on the rim. She forces teams to foul, to try to stop her, to try to slow her down. She really makes it difficult on the opposing defenses, and they don't have an answer for her at all. Not at all. I can't remember who was guarding her, but there was one possession where she was on the left wing, and they tried to make her go right. So the defender totally turned their body and forced her to go right, and she did go right. But you could tell Kahleah just wanted to send a message that I can go left whenever I want to. So she drove to the painted area on the right-hand side. And then when she made her move, she did like a two-step drop, and then she leaned into the left, pushed the defender on her left-hand side, and went up with her left and scored. And I was like, wow, that was just her letting her know that I can get to my left when I want to, even if you don't want me to. And fine, I'll go right for a moment, but I'm going to finish with my left, and I'm going to score. And she did. And she did that consistently over and over and over. She was scoring whenever she wanted to, scoring at will. And then her rebounding, especially her offensive rebounding. It felt like whenever the Sky needed a rebound, Kahleah Copper was the one who got it. She's the one who was out there banging on the boards, battling for boards, grabbing the rebound, falling down the floor, and passing it out. She was incredible. She continues to be incredible. And this is no surprise to, anyone listening to this podcast. You're probably a hardcore Sky fan, and you know how good Kahleah Copper has been for the last 3 years. She really started shining 3 years ago when she came back from her European duties. She came back a different player, honestly. She really just took the next step up. And I remember at the time I thought, wow, she's got like superstar, all-star potential. That's how good she's playing. I'm like, am I just kind of too deep into the forest to see the trees? Am I overhyping this player? And turns out I wasn't, and neither was anyone in Skytown. We saw the ability, and it came in flashes 3 years ago, and it really came to full circle last year and this year, where she showed, no, that's who I'm going to be from now on consistently. That's the player I am. Those little flashes of brilliance, that's actually going to be, in the long run, that's going to hold out, and that's going to play out. And that's what she's been this entire playoff run. It's been incredible, and even as the stakes have gotten higher, the competition has gotten better, it's gotten more intense. Her ability to do her job at a high level has not changed. In fact, it's increased, and that's a testament to her ability and the player she is now. It's just absolutely incredible to watch, and you're really seeing her grow into her own and shine on the brightest stage, and it's just great to see. It's great to see, and the Sky really needed it, because with her leadership and her offensive explosive ability and her rebounding ability, they were able to overwhelm the Mercury in this game, where really they didn't have much of a chance. During the first quarter, it was definitely back and forth, and Phoenix led by as many as 6 points in that first quarter. But then the Sky rallied back enough to make it a 5-point game. At the end of the first quarter, it was 25-20, and then really the turning point of the game, the moment where the game kind of shifted from maybe this will be a back and forth long night to, oh, this is a Skytown blowout. That was in the fourth minute. That's when the Sky started their run with 4:22 left in the second quarter. The score was 33-33, and then the Sky just went an incredible run. They outscored the Mercury with what was left of the quarter, 14-2. They ended the second quarter up 46-35, and I said it at the time. I'm like, if they're up by 11 or more points, 10 or more points actually was the number I said. I'm like, this is over, because it's going to be too much for this tired Phoenix Mercury team to overcome in the second half. And, so I got a little bit of pushback. I was pretty bold, on Twitter. I was definitely being bold, but I said, it's over. It's done. There's no way they're going to make a run big enough to close that gap. And it wasn't because I'm a big homer or something like that. It was just that it's a lot to come back from 10 points in a second, in just one half, 2 quarters, the last 2 quarters of a game, especially given all the exhaustion the Phoenix Mercury have after playing all those games against the Aces and going 5 games, and 48 hours later you're back here playing game 1, and now you're down 11 with 20 minutes left in the game, and you have to cut an 11-point lead. It's just too much to ask. You're basically asking them to go on 2 to 3 runs in that time, because to really come back from an 11-point deficit, you probably need 2 runs. You're going to need 1 run that gets you within like 5, 6, or 4 points. And then you'll need another run to take the ultimate lead. And that's not including the other team going on a run. So that's why I think you need 3 runs. You'll need 1 run to get it down to 5 or 6 points. The other team will probably have another run, kind of get it back to that, double digits or so. Then you'll need 2 runs, another one to close it, and then a final one to really take the lead. So that, based on everything I saw in that first half, that team did not have 3 runs in them, 2 to cut the lead and 1 to kind of, counter the other team's, run they have. And I just didn't think they had enough. And it turns out they didn't. It really never got that close again. The Sky continued to put pressure in the third quarter. And by the fourth quarter, it was almost, virtually a formality at that point. The Sky increased their lead. They continued to increase their lead. And there was a little run that the Phoenix Mercury kind of made sort of in garbage time, where they kept it competitive enough that the Sky couldn't bench their starting lineup yet, and they had to stay out there a couple more minutes. But that's really all it did. It just stalled the inevitable, which props to the Mercury for the bench showed up and at least forced them to play the whole game. So there's definitely credit to that, not just totally throwing in the towel. At least from the players that were on the court, they had pride, and they forced Parker and Quickly to stay on the court for a little bit more. But that's all they did. The game was over, and to me, it was really over after that second quarter run. It was just way too much to overcome. And Taurasi talked about it during the in-game interviews they do, which I do like, but I wonder how much the players, are like, I really wish I didn't have to do this, but it is insightful. And they asked Taurasi if the team was tired, how much fatigue was a factor in this game, and she did the champion, veteran response of, we're not going to use any excuse. We need to play better. We need to play harder. We're getting out rebounded. We're making sloppy fouls. We're not hitting our shots. I'm not going to, acknowledge, exhaustion in an WNBA Finals game. We need to just improve. But as an audience member and as fans not playing, I think it's totally fair to say they were tired, and you understand why they were tired. And it's not an excuse to say they would have won if they weren't tired. It's just giving you context as to why the game went the way it did, and why I said that it was over after the first half. It wasn't because the team doesn't have the ability to do what was being asked. It was just in the context of the scenario, it just wasn't going to happen on that night, on that Sunday matinee, and that's what turned out to happen. So give the Sky tremendous credit. They put that kind of pressure on both sides of the ball, right? Scoring offensively and shutting them down defensively. 10 points from the Phoenix Mercury in that second quarter. You're not going to win too many WNBA playoff games, much less a finals game, when you only score 10 points in a quarter. You're probably losing a lot of ground there, and that's exactly what happened. It opened the game up for this guy, and it gave them the victory. And really, it was a complete performance, but there's another player I really want to highlight, and that is Stephanie Dolson. Big Mama Steph. She really gave one of her best performances, period, on this night. She played 17 minutes, 14 points, 2 for 3 from the three-point land, 6 of 8 from the field in general. She was absolutely incredible. And, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can never doubt Stephanie Dolson. And the reason I've said that so much throughout the years and throughout this season is because when people think of Stephanie Dolson, a lot of times they think, oh, she's too slow. She's not able to kind of compete at this level. And that's why she's, had a reduced role this year. And while some of that is true, you have to remember she is an experienced veteran stretch 5 player who, puts the bigs of the Mercury in tough positions where they have to go out there and defend her on 3, have to fight off screens. And she's a really good screen setter. And she just makes their job a little bit harder, makes them work a little bit more on the other side of the floor, and that starts to factor in, let alone when she's hitting these shots like she did on this game. It really becomes a dagger, because then you're fighting off screens, you're trying to close out, you get a little lazy and you don't close out. Bang, she hits a 3 that extends the lead. Now you're frustrated on the other end, and then she's also a physical defender, gets does attract a lot of fouls, but then puts you on the line, and it's just she plays a big physical game, and when she's hitting on all strides, it's really hard to overcome. And that was another big factor in this game. Dolson just really became a dagger. If she's going to be hitting those shots, hitting those threes, she hit a really crazy runner on Griner that Griner just looked like, what am I supposed to do about that? She had her pinned, and Dolson just used her shoulder to create some separation, but she did like this sideways sky hook that just looked ridiculous, and then it went in. And when a player hits a basket like that, it's really devastating, because you feel like nothing I'm going to do is going to change anything, and this game is over. And that's exactly what Dolson did. And again, this is another level of basketball. And I think, I've been privileged enough. I've covered other teams in other leagues that have won championships, and I've seen a lot of championship basketball in different, areas of the sport at different levels. And one thing I think a lot of people are learning, especially Sky fans who haven't seen a lot of this kind of games where they're this invested in like a finals game, is it's different winning championships. There's a different requirement than what's required in the regular season and what's required in even the single elimination semifinals games. You need everyone to play their best, and you're going to need some of those X factor players, and you need to know who are the players who could be X factor players. Who are the role players that could go from a role player to they were a star? Who do I give that responsibility to in a situation they've never been in? That's a hard thing to figure out, and that's a hard thing to even know if you have on your bench. And one thing about Stephanie Dolson is she is that kind of player because she's been a starter consistently her life. She's been an all-star before. She's an Olympic gold medalist this year, and she's a veteran player who's not going to get nervous, not going to be afraid of the big moment, and she's not going to make many silly mistakes, except you have to know she's going to get in. There's a good chance she can get in foul trouble. But other than that, she's not going to make sloppy turnovers. She knows how to play the game, and the moment will not get too big for her. She will not get overwhelmed or make a silly play the way a young player might make, or even a star who's a little nervous because they feel the pressure of, I have to do something in this moment. We're down 4. I got to make something happen. Dolson will never have that attitude. She's always going to play within the system, play within herself, but she's also not afraid to take those shots if they're available, and it's the smart basketball play. You need those kind of players, and that's what Stephanie Dolson will always be. Will she always play this good? No. Will there be games in this final series where maybe she plays 5 minutes and she didn't look good in those 5 minutes and then she's out? Sure, but she is a player who has this potential on any given night. She's a veteran, and she will never hurt you to the point where you feel like you can't play her at all. She'll never be that because she's a responsible veteran. She's going to make her screens. She's going to run the offensive sets correctly. She's not going to take any silly shots. And we'll see what happens with her defensively depending on, how good someone like Brittany Griner is on that night, how often they go to her when she has that matchup, etc. But that's the thing about Stephanie Dolson that I think gets looked over. People see, that she's a bit slower sometimes or gets in foul trouble and they're wondering, oh, why is she out there? And that's the thing, getting those reps, and she's the kind of player who can have this kind of moment. And not every player on the roster, on the Chicago Sky roster or any roster, can do that. It's very rare. So you have to know that about your roster. Wade knows that. That's why he puts Dolson in these situations, and that's why she might have played more today than in some of those other playoff games that have occurred before. She got hot. She stayed out there. She continues to perform, and she was the only player on the Chicago Sky bench who scored it all. She had all 14 of the Chicago Sky bench's points, and not only that, she outscored the Phoenix Mercury bench 14-9. She beat them on her own, which is just absolutely incredible. Again, she had a great game, and anyone who's been really following her career or has doubted her before should know that she is 100% capable of this. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got another game this good. And I also wouldn't be surprised if we never did. But it doesn't matter because she was a pivotal role in winning one of the 3 games you need to win. And it's first to 3. It's not first to everyone theoretically agrees is the better team or first to play 3 good games or whatever. It's, we're getting to a very black and white point of the season here. The winners are champs. The losers are chumps. That's it. The nuance of it and how you feel about it is going to be different, but that's the point. And thanks to Dolson's incredible performance, the Chicago Sky were able to pull off the victory, and they only have 2 wins left before they are WNBA champions. All right, so those 2 wins are not going to come easy. The Phoenix Mercury play the Chicago Sky again on Wednesday at 9 p.m. ET, so check your local listings because the time for you might be different. And again, expect the biggest game. Expect the Phoenix Mercury to come out with everything. I'm not going to sugarcoat this at all. If the Phoenix Mercury lose, this thing is over. The question is it a sweep or is it in 4? I don't think it goes to 5. You're not going to win 2 games against the Chicago Sky in Chicago. It's just not going to happen. I'm telling you right now, not if you're down 0-2. It will not happen. The Phoenix Mercury are very well aware of this. Everyone's aware of what's at stake here. This is it. It's a best of 3. You can't go down 0-2 and have to, sweep them essentially by winning 2 road games and then a game 5. It's just not going to happen. So they have to win this game to give themselves a chance. They know this. They're going to be a little more rested since they haven't played since Sunday. Now they have more like 72 hours of rest, and they're going to be at home. So I expect Phoenix to come out all guns a-blazing, on fire, very aggressive, and trying to force the situation with the Sky. Now, will they get it done? I don't know. But they have championship pedigree on that roster. They have Taurasi. They have Griner. Skylar Diggins-Smith has that quality. She hasn't gotten there yet. Obviously, this would be her first championship, but she's another player that can 100% go off. This series is far from over. That was a great game 1, but game 2, again, we reset. It's first to 3, not first to 1. So, okay, Sky took the first game. Here's game 2. It can go either way. I would not be shocked at all if the Mercury come out here and play one of their best games all season. I'm sure that's the intent, and they have the capability and the star power and the players to do it. So we're going to see what's going to happen here. It'll be a difficult game. The Sky will need to continue to improve on their 3-point shooting. They'll have to keep winning the rebounding battle, keep those turnovers down, and hopefully they can get some more production from their bench, because even though it was amazing what Dolson did, as I've just went on a long tangent about, you can't have just one player running that way. It's too much to ask of one player. I don't think you can expect Dolson to drop another 14-15 by herself coming off the bench for game 2 and win. You're probably going to need more performance. We need some performances from Diamond DeShields. Obviously, she got into a physical, really hard foul in, I believe, the second quarter, which maybe threw her off her game. I'm sure she would never really admit that, but, it could have been a factor. They have the players on the bench to perform well, the Sky do, but we need to see it. And again, game 1 was almost a perfect game, but not quite. There's a little bit more bench production. It's probably ideal. So we'll see if we get that. And again, the Mercury are a very good team. That's why they're here. They've beaten a lot of really good teams to get here, and I fully expect them to bring the thunder on game 2, and I'm just really excited about it. We'll see what happens, and we'll see if the Chicago Sky will be able to pull it off. To me, that's a lot to ask, to win 2 road games. That would be a lot to ask, but I think either way they're in a good spot. If they win, hey, you're virtually done. Just finish it. And if you lose, that's disappointing, but you did your job. You want to split these games and then go home with the opportunity to take care of business. And you've already done that by winning game 1. So it's just a matter of, hey, keep going. You got it. Keep going. you're playing with house money at this point. So we'll see if the Sky are able to do not the impossible, but the not as, I guess, predicted and probable, and I guess the improbable here, and go up 2-0 heading back to Chicago. So either way, regardless of what happens, I'm excited. I can't wait to watch the game. This is what we all watch to see these teams play at the highest level, and that's what we're witnessing right now. So I'm very excited about Game 2 of the WNBA Finals. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. And after the game, I'll quickly hop on, do another pod, and I'll try to have that pod up a bit earlier than this one. This one came out late on Tuesday afternoon. The Game 2 pod will likely come out the morning of, so it'll come out Thursday morning. So I'll make sure it's a little bit faster of a return on that one. But I can't wait. We're right there. So let's see what happens. Let's see if the Sky are able to go up 2-0, and we'll talk about Game 2 regardless and update you from there. So until next time, go Sky.